Specifically, it'll just allow you to, just a brief summary of what this Article 39 entails, and
Well, I think the discussion we just had about doing tax abatements for seniors, veterans, and small businesses sort of shows why it would make more sense, because that's it's so complicated. Who do you pick? Who gets better favoritism or not favoritism, or who has bigger needs than the other person? I think property tax simply is it belongs in the dustpan of history. It simply doesn't work. We're trying to guess what a property is worth based on the person who's living in it. It's not worth what the market says, because they're just trying to survive day to day. And then you get the other problems of the town could take their property for not paying their taxes. Like, all of this stuff would just go away. It would just make life much more simple. We have 3 levels of government. We have 3 different types of taxes. We have an income tax, a sales tax, and a property tax. And we just simplify stuff. Very, like the Rose said, simplify, simplify. That's really all we're trying to do. It's not going to change the revenue. We're still going to have to come up with a complicated formula of how to get the $68 million. But you can do a progressive thing in the income tax that you cannot ever possibly do through a property tax. And that's really the simplest way to explain it.
Any questions relative to Article 39?
Many. but I will save them for another day.
Do we have any, if we have no questions, do we have a motion relative to Article 39?
So, I guess, I don't even know how to approach this from a finance committee perspective. I think it's pretty obvious that it would have an impact on budget, both because certain departments, in essence, would be dissolved and other departments would need to be created. I think it also, despite the, again, attempt to sort of talk about this as a revenue neutral idea, eliminating the tax base does eliminate all of the all of our ability to collect property taxes. So I feel like we sort of have to take a position on it. And my own position is, while I think that you are probably correct, this would in the end state be a fairer and more reasonable way to do it. I don't think that we are in a position to be able to do it.
That is not what this article is doing.
And that's fair. You are simply asking for the ability to talk to the legislature.
Because the State House is not going to do anything without a little bit of clamoring on the side of the citizens. And if one town stands, the State House is 140 people. The town meeting is, 100 and something. So if 110 people say, we would like to consider drastically looking at this problem, the State House has to pay attention, because we are as many numbers as the State House.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to digest it myself.
I want to just make an observation that this is a bold move, and I would want to mention that we have, I think, 351 or 355 communities here in the state of Massachusetts that all pay into, and the taxes into the state. And it's a formal process done through an audit, and there's a recap sheet. And a lot of times it also delineates a lot of the resources that come back to the states. There's such a large amount of formulaic, ingrained, and the system itself is just so complex that, I merit you on thinking of it. But I would also say that some people can live in a $3 million home because they choose to. And some people that have more money than, whoever could have a $40,000 home. So the minute that that person has worked hard to get their millions and has a $40,000 home and is living very quietly, and the minute that you come for their pocketbook, I could assure you. So I think my observation is that the last thought I'll make, and then I can sum it up, is I believe in 1984, the State Justice Department blessed real estate on a cash basis as true value. So that means that our valuations, as they're merited, if my home is assessed or worth at $300,000, let's say, and that's actual cash value, and that's how valuations and assessments and comparisons and everything get done. When you get into areas of income, never mind the pension systems and the IRAs and the whole tax code, because, you know, let's just face it, there are people out there that make tons of money and they're constantly in the news because they've evaded paying any taxes. So I would just caution you that though it's impressive that you're looking for an alternative as someone in finance, I would be concerned because you can really, when you're looking at individuals' income, you're looking at their own personal wealth. And that has been a thorn in the average person's side, because people that work hard and earn and make a good living deserve every right to have the wealth that they've consumed and earned. That's my take. If I've sent myself through school and college and I've studied and I was in the right place at the right time and my value is $30 billion, I'm already being punished for being that rich. There's other laws at the state level that do that. And there's constant tug of war between income and revenue sources for personal income. So I think that though it's a different approach, I don't know that you're going to find, you're still going to have to categorize people. You're going to have to say people make between $50,000 and $125,000, people that make between $175,000 and $300,000, people that make between $375,000, and now do we talk about investment? You know what I'm saying?
We're doing all of this already. We're just doing it twice.
Well, no,
We
not
already have an
necessarily.
income tax.
Not
We have a
necessarily.
state income tax, we have a federal income tax. In most states, there's an income tax. We're doing all of this already.
But Massachusetts already has Massachusetts already has a state tax, and everybody across the board, whether they make a lot of money or they don't make very much money, have to pay the state tax.
But
So that's not fair.
The question, I'm not trying to give, you know, they made the same arguments, well, you couldn't get rid of the king. Because, you know, the king made all the decisions, the king knew everything, the king had the administration in place. You couldn't, the world would fall apart, the mob would not be ruling. You're making the same exact argument they made 250 years ago. Exactly.
Well, in all
We can make
fairness,
changes.
250 years later, it has, and I don't want to take up time, I just wanted to express my thoughts. 250 years later, we're no further ahead. And so I would just say that you've got a very complex, very formulaic methodology in place that is running a nation. So thank you. I commend you on putting it forward.
I certainly understand. It is very complicated. This is why a simple solution sometimes is the best solution for complicated things.
So since, no, does anyone else have something? Sorry.
I would just say, like Patrick said, we all, respect the efforts. You say it's simple, it doesn't, implementing it going forward doesn't sound like it would be that simple to do. Like, even if this passes, who would be in charge of it in the town? Just figuring all that out and then making all the changes. And, change is scary to most people.
This would take years to execute. I mean, this is
And
not.
change is
I would have to, presumably, I'd be on the committee.
So is your intent to get a subcommittee or to bring it to the town's attention through town meeting and then have a group of people try to pursue it?
Yeah, we'd have to have a committee, and we would have to, so the bigger issue here is sort of like, the pause that happened at our last finance meeting, when I said, can't we look at the Excel files? And there was a, ooh, well, guess what? You do that with the Department of Insurance and the Department of Revenue, they'll be like, what? You're not allowed in here. You're not allowed to ask us questions. You're not allowed to make suggestions on how we operate the system. We've already decided. It's 250 years old. There's nothing shy. I realize there is nothing shy about this proposal. However, if you knew more about how I understand the economy, it makes perfect sense that you have to change something at the lowest level. You have to change something at the town level if you're going to have any, what they're doing in Washington, the tariffs could be 100%. Oh, no, we're not going to have any tariffs today. Now for 90, like, wow, what are they doing, right? They're not like, we're not going to get any relief from Washington, not for
yeah.
ever.
Yeah, I think we're going to stick to it. We're going to stick to our warrant.
So anyway, but all I'm saying is this will change the system. It'll take time, absolutely. But, you know, I can clear the path, but I have to have support. And that's really all I'm asking
I was
for.
just going to add to it when I was talking that, kind of like Patrick said, you go after people's money. Like, I mean, with this, you know, what if someone owned 5 properties in Auburn, but they rent them all out and they live somewhere else? So then,
That's just
can
questions
we
we have to
charge a
deal with.
resident of a different town on their income? Like, that would be a weird. And then, you know, people making a lot of money here, they're making $250,000, and then, oh, you know, I'm going to Charlton now, or, you know, Sutton, anywhere else. It would scare those people away, because they're paying more to live here.
I mean, we had the same problem. BJ's has 10 stores.
Hold on, Steve. To George's point, like, I agree with you. As my family started to get older, my teenage children, at some point, I think they're going to end up coming home, right? They'll probably, until they can save enough money to put a down payment on a house or afford rent. And now my household is getting charged for myself, my wife, and, you know, adult children who are back home where other people may not be reporting that, or you mentioned rental, you know, landlords, how we...
Right. How do you go after someone?
It's very complicated, and I do applaud you, Steve,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you do think, of anybody I've met, think outside the box. I just don't know that exactly how this is phrased, you know, how we even take really a true position on it, or what town meeting's going to sort of do with it, but I do applaud you, Steve. I love the way you're thinking and being creative.
So I will say, given that this does not attempt to change the tax base, it just attempts to give us the ability to discuss it with the state legislature, I don't think that there is a direct financial impact based on the wording of this exact article, so I will move that we take no position at this time.
Okay, we have a motion to take no position on Article number 39. We have a second? Second. Jordan, a second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 2 for Steve.
Number 2,
Steve has two.
Article 40. The summary is to explore forming a publicly owned community development financial institute. Want to give us the
So
the
that's
very short?
that's a much bigger. Because, you know, that actually could have, that could actually be done much quicker, ironically. Although it would still take legal changes at the State House. Because CDFIs right now come out of the US Treasury, and they only work on, and they generally do like small projects. You know, there's like a half a dozen of them in Worcester, there's one in Charlton, I think there was one in, you know, there's not a lot of CDFIs generically. There's at least, there's at least one in the state of Massachusetts, because they've done like 780 projects. None of them are suggesting that we pool our money together and sort of self-insure like we do with the health insurance. So the town is self-insuring health insurance. So the same logic of that you would save money, that you can administer it better, we could be doing the same thing with property insurance. Instead of shipping it to, you know, Hartford or New York City or wherever we're shipping the money to, we keep the money here, and the same profits that the insurance company's making. You know, this would also require a lot of changes from the State House. And I'm sure the Department of Insurance would be wondering what the heck is going on. But, you know, if they could regulate the industry, why couldn't they regulate a town doing the same exact thing that the industry does? It's no different than a light company. Holden has a light company, Shrewsbury has a light company. It's not that hard to run a business. We have enterprise accounts, they're just running a business. So it's not really as crazy or as difficult as an idea as it sounds, but it does change the flow. And that same instrument, and I don't know if they do them in Massachusetts or not, but that same instrument also works as a credit union. So we could, in fact, be creating our own public bank. Public banks exist in the country. I don't know, but I don't think we have any in Massachusetts. So this would be, in effect, the first public bank. But that would still be at a different level of maturity than we would start at. The thing to start at would be simply to look at, you know, insuring people's real estate, and so that when there's a problem, when there's a problem with real estate, you're hiring local people to fix it. So why are you going to Hartford or New York or wherever to get the money to fix it? The insurance company isn't paying for anything. The subscribers are paying for it all. It's all, every business is just cost shifting, right? Like we tax the taxpayer is going to cost shift. The business is going to get money and cost shift it from their customers. I mean, the whole economy is just about cost shifting. But if you look at it in terms of the percentages and where the money is flowing, the money is trickling up, first of all, but it's also trickling into the banks and the insurance companies primarily. Hence why they dominate every skyline. So this is definitely a David versus Goliath idea for the town to take on the skyscrapers, essentially.
Okay. Questions relative to this one? I think, Andrew?
So you're proposing kind of like we have the town aggregate for power. Your people would opt into this
Right.
program and
Exactly.
would hopefully see the benefit of lower insurance premiums by bonding everybody together as a town for a better rate. That's what you're getting at? Okay.
Additional questions?
I'll just say, for the same reason as the last one, since this is really just requesting that the town seek approval from the state legislature, I don't think that there's a direct financial impact in the wording of this article, and therefore I would move that we take no position at this time.
Okay, we have a motion to take no position on Article number 40. Second, all in favor?
Hey. You just put more committees on your plate, Steve.